Did the Bobcat 5K out at Shippenville near Clarion, I believe. Finished 7th overall, first in my age. It was like a cross-country course. Didn't know what to really expect coming into the race. Being a cross-country course, I actually didn't know if it was like actual trail or if it was just for the cross-country team and it was going to be on the road. So I brought 3 different kinds of shoes to wear, but I went with my Peregrines because it was an actual like cross-country type trail race, which was probably the smarter decision. If I had some kind of grass shoe, I would have worn that, but those are all worn out, so I got stuck with my Peregrine 13s. I guess I'm happy with my performance today. Like 20:36 doesn't seem like a fast time, which I would sort of concur, but I wasn't really prepared, and I knew after looking at the talent that showed up, I wasn't going to win, so I wasn't going to bust my ass and burn up and for the weekend coming up with 3 different races, playing it smart. Plus my legs didn't feel like they're fully recovered from the 3 races this past weekend and the 20 miles I put in on the bike and run Sunday. So still needed probably another day or so to actually like recover. So it was smarter to pull back a little bit after I was realizing I wasn't gonna win or even finish top 3. It was a nice little cross-country course. It was pretty much like a 2-lap course with some changes on the second one. Second lap was probably a little bit easier than the first. But I know right away what I was expecting when I showed up and looking at the ages of everybody who registered. There was like a ton of cross-country kids. And I was like, oh, this is going to suck. I'm going to get completely like decimated today because I just knew my legs weren't under me. Plus I had school today. We had a cookout. I ate way too much shit. This morning. But we'll see. Too much, we'll just put it this way. Too much buffalo chicken dip on some ham barbecues really put a hurting on me. But it's an hour and a half to hour 40-minute drive, depending on how fast I get drive from home. And then, like I said, I was looking at the run sign up beforehand. I was like, man, I'm gonna get smoked. There isn't too many older guys. I know last year I think the older guys won, but there wasn't that many high school kids. There was more older people last year, but this year, like, all the cross-country teams came, and it was promoted, I think, more of a cross-country style 5K than like an adult, at least like from the run sign-up page. I could be wrong. Really didn't actually decide to do this race probably until this afternoon when we left school, because we got out a little bit early. So I was like, all right, I'll take an hour nap, jet out, see how things go. Maybe I'll get lucky, maybe not. But when I showed up, I was like, yeah, there's definitely some studs here. I was like, you're not gonna do it. But anyway, it was like a mass start, typical cross-country style, where like 50 people could be at the start line. And I knew that. I was thinking beforehand to hold back on the first lap after I found out it was like 2, and then push it on the second lap, just so I could see right away how they were marking the course. Since I'm not necessarily familiar with a lot of the cross-country courses and how like different schools mark stuff, I didn't want to try to jet out right away and burn up, nor worry about how the course is going to mark. So I wanted to make sure I was going slow enough to be able to recognize how they were actually going to mark the course and set things up for the different turns. Because I looked at the map and I was like, all right, this doesn't make any sense to me. never ran there before. And the way they go around like some of the ball fields and stuff, I was like, this really doesn't make any sense, because there's like a figure 8 style. I was like, all right, so is this the first lap, second lap, that sort of thing. And even when we were in the woods, you know, the first lap we did a bigger hill, second lap we did a smaller hill. Without knowing the course, I didn't really know how to actually attack. So I was a little bit behind the 8 ball, because I think a lot of these kids knew the course or seen it before, so they had the advantage definitely over me. So when we took off, I did hold back a little bit early on, and then I went out and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna follow kids. So that's what I did. I think the lowest I was maybe 10th. After like a 10th of a mile, I was 10th place. I could see the kids ahead of me in a line, so I just counted off real quick so I could keep track in my head, as I hopefully in my mind would pick a few off at some point. Well, we ran around the ball fields a little bit, and I made sure to take the tangents out as much as I could. So there were some like telephone poles along the ball fields. Some were tighter against the fence, some were farther out. So when I could, I'd duck in closer to the fence to take a couple feet away here or there. You know, shave as much off as I could. And again, cut as much of the tangents out, because these kids were just jetting out the gate. And I was like, all right, I need every little fraction of a second that I can get the gain on some of them. Because it was a little bit rough. I mean, the Peregrines, wearing them, I mean, they were my best option, but for that course, it probably wasn't the best option if I had another one, just because of the grassiness. I wasn't getting the traction as probably some other kids who actually like had shoes that dug into the grass a little bit. These are made for more rock and dirt and stuff like that, not the grass, even though they still work pretty good. But once we went into the field, or the woods for the first time, I felt a little bit more comfortable. But I was sort of watching for like roots and stuff like that. I didn't know how rooty it was going to be. I did try to pass a couple kids and like the downhill and a couple like quick turns that we had, but I was getting blocked by the one kid, so I couldn't actually get around him. So that lost me a couple seconds there in momentum. And then once we hit the big hill on the first loop, which is the biggest incline of the race, I passed one or two. But then near the top, the one kid passed me back, because this was just like a grassy power line. Maybe, I don't know, 80 to 100 feet climb over, I would say not even 2/10 before we top out, and then drop back down in the woods a little bit. Then I passed that kid right back up. I figured some of these kids maybe took the hill too hard and would have burned up, but I only passed 2, so obviously they didn't. They're probably actually in more shape right now for shorter distance than me, and it showed. Then we popped back out of the woods, did a loop around the ball fields, which was all like pretty high grass. It wasn't really cut short like a yard. It was maybe, I don't want to say like 4 to 5 inches around the ball fields. I maintained through that. It was starting to actually get hot right before the start of the second lap. I say the sprinklers just kicked on, because I basically just started sweating really heavy. I think my heart rate finally kicked in real high, so my body was trying to cool me down like right before the start of the second lap. There was some nice stretches of straightness around the ball fields, which I sort of tried to take advantage of. but I wasn't really gaining anything there. And then the same thing happened once we hit the woods. I passed like one more kid on the shorter hill, but I really didn't catch anybody else on the course. So I moved from 10th place, like a 10th into the race, to 7th overall. But again, after knowing I wasn't going to win or even finish top 3, I did sort of hold back a little bit and played it smart. Because I was like, all right, well, I'm like the first guy over like the age of 20. So just don't be doing something stupid. Just let the kids go. And just be like the first adult through. I know a lot of people were just like looking at me like, who's this guy? I don't know if I looked younger or not with my shirt off and my little chest hairs sticking out. But either way, I was hanging with the kids. Like I said, I'm saying more kids because there really wasn't any adults there. I mean, there was a few, but I would say out of like the 120 people there might have been like 20-ish adults racing, and then like the other 100 were the kids or teenagers, whatever. So it's kind of skewed to the youth today, which is nice because, again, most races you don't have that much youth, so it was fun to actually race the kids. Really good competition. Even though my time, I would say on a good day, should have been probably like an 18 and a half for that course. If I really like redlined and turned and burned. I just didn't really want to today. And even though there was 2 kids probably, I want to say like 20 yards ahead of me, I thought I could pick them off, but I should have been able to pick them off, but I didn't really want to bust my ass to do it. There was really no point, because that would have gave me like 5th anyhow, so that still would have just gave me like 1st of my age. So again, that was smart not to actually like chase him down, even though the one kid probably 2 to 3 tenths left into the race started puking. I was like, all right, he's done, I'm gonna get him. But he just kept pushing himself more and more to finish, and then he puked like a few more times, and I was watching him. Usually that would have kicked in something mentally where I would just be like, all right, he's done, I'm gonna hunt him down. But I was just like, just let him go. And there was another kid just slightly ahead of him, maybe like 2 to 3 seconds. I should have probably turned and burned and hunted them down, but again, that would have been at the most top 5 there. But I want to say 80% of the course, the 90% was in grass. So I wasn't really prepared for that because I really don't run much actually on grass. When we actually hit the woods a little bit and got the dirt, I really felt more comfortable on that. Even running through the ball field area, I didn't really like feel comfortable. And I knew on the second lap I had to take the one bank on the one outfield ball field because there's a couple people walking, so I didn't actually have like the flat level ground. I actually had to run on a bank that was pretty well tilted just to get around. Race-wise, it just seemed to go by pretty quick, even though it was 20 minutes. I guess it was marked well enough so you didn't get lost, because around the ball fields and like the figure 8s that we did, they actually had somebody standing there pointing in the right direction. So that was actually a concern of mine, if they were just going to use arrows on the grass. But they actually had like people pointing you and waving you in the right direction you're going. So even if you did like a right-hand turn and then you circle around and then you did like an L the other direction, they had people like front to back keeping things situated properly, and even had somebody in the woods where the split was to go to the big hill on the first lap and then the small hill on the second lap. So that was pretty nice. So it wasn't really like confusing as I thought it might be. But again, I had people in my sights the whole time, so it made it a lot easier for me to navigate, which in all honesty, I probably paid attention to the course markings 20 to 30% of the time, and then the other 70 I was just following the kids in front of me. So that made a little bit of a difference. But I don't know, I had fun. Even though I was 7th, I know you don't hear me say that much, but just a different atmosphere, different crowd. The high school kids and stuff all seemed like they were having a good time. There was no egos there today in the crowd, so everybody was just there like having fun, like tuning up for their seasons, I guess. I don't know what all schools are there because I'm not familiar with the area. I know there's some like purple shirts, some orange shirts, so if that helps anybody. But I don't know, it was a fun time. I'd probably like another crack at that course if I get a chance. See if I can't put down a better time. Talked to the winner a little bit. Pretty nice kid. Talked to his dad a little bit. Talked to some other people. So I had fun talking to the different people today that honestly I might have known 4 people there. That would have been Scott, Ian, Herb, and Bonnie. So everybody else I had no idea who they were. I've never met them before, so I don't know, I felt welcomed. So that's always a plus. And again, it's a fundraiser for their cross-country team boosters. So I guess that's about it. I don't know, like I said, I had fun, even though I didn't do well. I don't know. But I guess mainly, I mean, I wanted to crack at it. There was 2 reasons why I came today. I was hoping I could pull off a miracle and take first, even with all the young ages that I saw that were signed up, which I really didn't have high hopes to do. But I was also using this as a tune-up for deer flies on Sunday to get a little bit more speedier trail-ish work in. I was hoping for a little bit more dirt and elevation, but this actually works just as well being grass because it was a little bit harder. So this is sort of like the tune-up for Sunday to see how I felt not on road, even though I'm going to run on some rail trail on Saturday. But my main concern is deer flies on Sunday, and then again trying to hit my 200 lifetime race goal wins. So I gotta do a bunch of races, you know, take my shot at a bunch just to get it done. And I didn't get it, but you know what? Maybe next time.